The cabin lights of Flight 714 glowed softly as the aircraft leveled out above the clouds. First class felt less like an airplane and more like a private lounge suspended in the sky. Leather seats curved gently around polished armrests. Crystal glasses reflected warm gold light. Conversations were low, confident, and careless, the kind spoken by people used to being heard. In the aisle stood the flight attendant. Her uniform was immaculate, deep blue fabric pressed flat without a single wrinkle. Her posture was upright, disciplined, precise. She moved with the quiet assurance of someone who understood exactly where she belonged, even if others did not. Her name badge read Amelia Cotta, though no one bothered to read it. To most passengers, she was invisible. To one man, she was a problem. He sat in seat, leaning back with entitlement carved into every line of his face. His gray hair was neatly combed. His watch alone probably cost more than her monthly salary, and he made sure everyone noticed it when he lifted his wrist. "Hey," he snapped, waving two fingers in the air. "I've been waiting." Amelia turned instantly, offering a professional smile that never quite reached her eyes. "Yes, sir. I ordered a whiskey," he said. 10 minutes ago." "I apologize for the delay," she replied calmly. "We had a last-minute boarding situation. I'll bring it right away." He exhaled sharply through his nose, already annoyed. "Figures," he muttered. As she turned toward the galley, he leaned toward the man beside him and spoke just loud enough to be heard. "They really don't screen these people anymore." Amelia heard it. She always heard everything. But she kept walking. The galley lights flickered as she poured the drink with steady hands. She placed the glass on a napkin, adjusted it twice, and returned to his seat with measured steps. "Here you are, sir," she said, setting the glass down gently. He didn't look at her. "You know," he said, swirling the whiskey. "First class used to mean something." Several passengers glanced up. Some shifted uncomfortably. Others leaned in slightly, sensing tension like static before a storm. "Is there anything else I can help you with?" Amelia asked. He finally looked at her, eyes scanning her face with open disdain. "Yeah," he said. "You could explain how someone like you ends up working up here?" The air changed instantly. A woman across the aisle stopped mid-spay. Man near the window frowned. Someone farther back subtly raised a phone, pretending to text. Amelia didn't flinch. "I'm here to ensure your safety and comfort," she said evenly. He laughed. "Safety," he repeated. "Das funny." Then he said it, not loudly, not angrily, just casually, like it was normal. The word landed hard, ugly, and unmistakable. The cabin froze. A sharp breath echoed from somewhere behind Amelia. No one spoke. No one moved. She stood perfectly still. Then she looked at him. "Sir," she said quietly, "I'm asking you to lower your voice." "Oh," he scoffed. "Or what?" Her smile returned, slow and deliberate. "Or I'll involve the captain." He slammed his hand onto the armrest. "You think you can threaten me?" he barked. "I paid thousands for this seat. I fly more miles than you'll ever dream of." Murmurs spread like cracks in ice. The intercom chimed. "Ladies and gentlemen," the captain's voice said smoothly, "this is your captain speaking. Cabin crew, please report." Every head turned. Amelia tapped her earpiece. "Yes, Captain, Ms. Cotta," the voice continued. "Please, come to the cockpit." The man into us smirked. "Told you," he said. "You're done." Amelia met his gaze, unbothered. "You might want to stay seated," she replied. She walked forward, heels clicking softly, her back straight as eyes followed her every step. The cockpit door closed behind her, leaving first class buzzing with whispers. "She's in trouble," someone muttered. "That guy went too far," another said. The man in 2A leaned back, satisfied, sipping his drink slowly. Minutes passed. Then the cockpit door opened. The captain stepped out, tall and commanding, his expression serious. Behind him walked Amelia. The captain stopped in the aisle. "Sir, in Tua," he said firmly. "Stand up." Confusion replaced arrogance. "What is this about?" the man demanded. "Stand up," the captain repeated. Reluctantly, he did. The captain gestured toward Amelia. "This woman," he said, "is not just a flight attendant." Passengers leaned forward. "Amelia Carter is a former Federal Aviation Security investigator," the captain continued. She has spent the last decade identifying higher-risk individuals, behavioral threats, and security breaches on commercial aircraft. A ripple of shock spread through the cabin. She's flying today as part of an internal safety evaluation, he added. Every interaction is monitored and recorded. The man's face drained of color. You used discriminatory language toward a crew member, the captain said coldly. That is a federal offense in this context. I didn't mean, the man stammered. Save it, the captain cut in. We've already contacted authorities, he continued. When we land, you'll be escorted off this aircraft. Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Amelia stepped forward. You asked how someone like me got here, she said calmly. I earned my place. I trained for it. I sacrificed for it. She leaned closer. And you failed your test. The man sat down slowly, defeated. Amelia turned and walked back down the aisle, resuming her duties, as if nothing extraordinary had happened, but nothing would ever feel ordinary again. The flight continued smoothly, but the energy had shifted. Conversations were quieter. Glances followed Amelia with new understanding. She served drinks. She checked seat belts. She smiled politely. Yet now, every movement carried weight. When the plane began its descent, the man in 2A stared straight ahead, hands trembling slightly. As the wheels touched down, several passengers exhaled in relief. Authorities boarded the plane. The man was escorted away without a word. Amelia watched calmly from the galley. Another flight completed. Another lesson delivered. And at 35,000 feet, Justice had traveled first class. The aircraft taxied slowly toward the gate, but inside first class, time felt heavier than usual. No one spoke now. The earlier confidence, the casual chatter, the laughter born from privilege had evaporated. Every passenger sat upright, suddenly aware that power did not always look the way they expected it to. Amelia stood near the galley, hands folded, eyes forward. From the outside, she looked exactly like she had before, calm, professional, ordinary. But to the people who had witnessed the confrontation, she was no longer invisible. A woman in 3C kept glancing toward her, curiosity mixed with guilt. A man in 1D cleared his throat several times, as if rehearsing words he would never say. Even the person who had been recording earlier now stared at the dark phone screen, unsure whether to feel embarrassed or impressed. The man from 2O was escorted down the aisle by two officers. His shoulders were hunched now, his face stiff and pale. He avoided eye contact with everyone, especially Amelia. When he passed her, their eyes met for half a second. His expression was no longer angry, it was afraid. The door closed behind him. Only then did the cabin breathe again. The captain addressed the passengers briefly, apologizing for the disturbance and thanking them for their cooperation. His voice was steady, practiced, but there was an edge to it now, a reminder that authority, when real, did not need to shout. As passengers gathered their belongings, the woman in 3C stood and hesitated. Then she stepped toward Amelia. I just wanted to say, she began, lowering her voice. I'm sorry you had to deal with that. Amelia nodded politely. Thank you. The woman paused. You handled it with incredible strength. Amelia smiled, small and sincere. It's part of the job. One by one, others followed. Not everyone spoke, but many offered nods, brief smiles, quiet looks of respect. The shift was subtle, but undeniable. The same people who had once barely noticed her presence now acknowledged it fully. When the cabin finally emptied, Amelia remained behind, helping clean and reset. The familiar rhythm of work grounded her. Cups collected, trays wiped, seats checked, routine restored. Another flight, another test. But this one lingered. Later, in the quiet of the terminal corridor, the captain walked beside her. You did exactly what we hoped, he said. She exhaled slowly. I wasn't sure how it would land. That's the point, he replied. People show who they really are when they think there are no consequences. She nodded. Still, he added, you didn't have to stay as calm as you did. She looked ahead. Anger gives people excuses. Silence takes them away. The captain smiled faintly. You're cleared for the next phase. She stopped walking. Already? You've passed, he said simply. Today confirmed what we already suspected. She absorbed that quietly. As they parted ways, Amelia felt the familiar mix of exhaustion and resolve. The work was never easy, it was never comfortable, but it mattered. That night, alone in her hotel room, she finally allowed herself to sit still. The uniform hung neatly by the door, the cap rested on the table. For the first time all day, she unclenched her jaw. Her phone buzzed with a secure notification. Evaluation report submitted. Subject response documented. Behavioral pattern confirmed. She set the phone down. Tomorrow would be another flight, another cabin, another set of assumptions, waiting to be challenged. Somewhere out there, someone else believed power looked like money, volume, or cruelty. Someone else believed uniforms defined worth, and sooner or later, they would meet her. Because Amelia Carter didn't need recognition to do her job. She didn't need applause. She didn't need revenge. She needed truth. And at 35,000 feet, truth had a way of surfacing. The next morning, Amelia stood at the airport window watching another aircraft push back from the gate. Dawn lights stretched across the runway, turning metal wings into strips of gold. Travelers hurried past behind her, dragging suitcases, complaining into phones, living inside their own urgency. None of them knew who she was. None of them needed to. Her assignment for the day appeared on her phone. Flight 889, domestic, full cabin, mixed class seating. She slipped the device into her pocket and adjusted her uniform. The fabric felt heavier today, not with fear, but with awareness. Yesterday's flight had not been unique. It had simply been honest. On board Flight 889, the energy was different. Less luxury, more impatience. Economy passengers argued over armrests. A businessman snapped at a gate agent. A mother struggled with a crying child while strangers pretended not to notice. Amelia moved through the cabin with the same quiet control. She watched hands, eyes, posture, listened to tone instead of words. Most people revealed themselves without realizing it. Halfway through boarding, she noticed a man near the rear aisle. He wasn't loud, he wasn't rude. That was what made him stand out. His eyes tracked every crew member. His jaw tightened when rules were announced. His foot tapped, not from anxiety, but from restraint. When she reached his row, he looked up at her. "Morning," he said pleasantly. "Good morning," she replied. But his smile vanished the moment she passed. She marked it mentally. At cruising altitude, turbulence rattled the cabin. Drinks trembled. Overhead bins creaked. The seatbelt sign chimed on. That was when the man stood up. "Sir," Amelia called immediately. "Please, return to your seat." He hesitated. "I just need the restroom." "The sign is on," she said. "Please sit." He stared at her for a second too long. "You're really strict about rules," he said. A few nearby passengers watched, tension sharpening again. Amelia felt it instantly. Patterns repeated. They always did. He sat down, but his gaze followed her. Later, when the turbulence eased, she passed him again. This time, he leaned slightly into the aisle. "You enjoy telling people what to do?" he asked quietly. She stopped. "I enjoy keeping people safe." He smirked. "Sure." She met his eyes, calm, observant, just curious who they trust with authority these days. There it was, in the galley. Another flight attendant whispered, "That guy's giving me bad vibes." Amelia didn't look surprised. "I'm watching him." Minutes later, the man pressed his call button repeatedly. When Amelia arrived, he lowered his voice. "People like you shouldn't have power," he said softly. "You forget your place." Around them, the cabin held its breath again. Amelia didn't raise her voice. "Sir," she said, "you're crossing a line." "Am I?" he replied. "Or are you just sensitive?" "Captain," she said evenly, "I need you." The man laughed under his breath. "Here we go again." But this time, the captain's voice came immediately. "I'm listening." Amelia described the behavior calmly, clinically. No emotion, no accusation, just facts. "Understood," the captain replied. "Proceed with protocol." Her pulse stayed steady. She turned back to the man. "Sir, you're going to remain seated for the rest of the flight. And if I don't?" he challenged. "Then you'll be met on arrival," she said. He stared at her, calculating. Then, slowly, he leaned back. Passengers exhaled. The rest of the flight passed quietly, but eyes followed Amelia with renewed attention. Respect again, recognition again, not because of a reveal this time, but because of presence. When the plane landed, authorities boarded discreetly. The man was escorted off without drama, no shouting, no spectacle, just consequences. As passengers disembarked, a young girl tugged her mother's sleeve and pointed at Amelia. "Mom," she whispered, "she's brave." Amelia smiled gently at the child. Later, alone again, Amelia finally removed her uniform. She looked at herself in the mirror, not with pride, but with understanding. This work wasn't about exposing people. It was about protecting spaces, drawing lines, reminding the world that respect wasn't optional. Tomorrow would be another flight, another test, another chance for someone to underestimate her, and she would be ready.